Hello and welcome to Just for Today. I'm Jamal Normie.
Hey, I'm Miranda, the addict.
And today's topic is God.
God.
All right, and to start us off, we have a scripture. It goes
1 John 4:8. Anyone who doesn't love doesn't know God, because God is love.
all right. For some reason, God's a touchy subject, so before you click off the episode, just give me a couple minutes, and then if it makes sense, then continue. If not, then I don't know. But so first thing I want to ask is for you to forget everything you know about God. Forget anything you've heard, you experienced, forget it all. Close your eyes. I'm going to paint a picture for you. Close your eyes. Ready? Close your eyes. You too. So imagine there's this house, this warm house in the middle of this cold earth. You go up to this door and you open it and it's God, right? And he's like, leave all your stuff out there. Leave your shame, your hurt, your pain, your sorrow, you know, the drugs, the drink, the anything that ails you, you know, the abuse. Leave that all outside and come on into this warm house out of that cold weather, you know, and you go in there and then this warm hand, you know, you're a kid and this is a parent, you know, it's this warm hand touches your shoulder and it says, you know, it's all right, you did good, you're forgiven, everything's going to be great from here on out. That's what God is to me. That's how I know God now. So if you want to know more about that, then continue to listen. It's crazy to me because when we talk about God, it seems to be that people relate it to politics, right? It's this thing that no one can talk about. You know, you talk about it and it's something negative. But that's not the way it's supposed to be. I don't feel like that's the way God's meant for it to be. I used to think that way. But really, this should be more, we're talking about like family, you know? This shouldn't be a negative thing. I can almost guarantee anybody that has a negative annotation, feeling, idea, thought about God is because somewhere in there, it's because you're saying something about I or me. I don't feel like, I think it's, I've experienced, I've heard, you know, there's going to be I or me in there. That's why I'm saying forget everything you think you know about it and everything we experience, because likely what's happened is somebody that's either you've gotten a feeling about it, like I did. I went to church, I was bored, I didn't like it, and it's me, you know, I want to do this, I want to do that, or somebody's done something to hurt you, or something to that effect that claims that it's about God, but really,
If you think about it, it was more towards like, I don't know, like people would call it witchcraft or whatever, into astrology and the moon and candles and stones and oils and stuff, which is, you know, it's therapeutic, but yeah, that's who I pray to, I guess you can say.
it's like people, like, so God made everything, right? He made science. People think that science is blah, 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 but he made science. Like, if you think about it, eventually the world's supposed to burn and all this stuff, but also science says eventually the sun is going to burn the earth. So it's like, science is made by God. I'm very scientific, logical, I believe in all that sort of thing, but God made it. It's not about magic and blah, 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 and all this fairy tale stuff. That's not what God is. It's very real. I mean, like, it's one and the same. So a lot of things that happen. So it's like, there's a supreme pizza, right? And then people come up, they get their slices and they take from it, and they're like, I don't want mushrooms. I don't want pepperoni. I don't want the. I like this pizza, cheese pizza, or I like this pizza with green peppers and blah, blah, blah. Like, religion started with, you know, God, and it was the supreme pizza, but people took from it and decided to make things on their own, taking little bits and pieces from it to make whatever thing that they want to make out of it. That's not what it is, though. You have to look at the whole. You can't sit up here, take pieces from something, and then call that. You can't take pieces of something and start your own religion. Like, I don't like this stuff about religion, so I'm just going to take this and do this, and this, and now this is my religion. There's a whole for a reason. You start picking apart something. It's not what it is. It's not what it was. When I was little, I stopped going to church because I was bored and because I didn't understand, why am I giving my money to God, to church, for this guy to go and drive around this expensive car, and live his life, whatever. But it's a job. Like, it's a full-time job to sit up here and read, to read this Bible and pray to God and figure out stuff. Lights have to stay on, activities have to happen, if they're a good church leader, they're trying to give back someplace, back to society or whatever the case is, right? So things cost money, you got to have other people there to do things. The drummer has to make money, the pianist has to make money, the secretary has to make, all the people need money to survive and to do things. So again, it's me. I'm not wanting to be in church or believe in God because of what my perception is of it, right? So, and then it's like, this has happened to me, this negative thing has happened, that why is so-and-so dead? Why am I going through this? Why am I? Again, it's I and me, but just because you're in church, because you're believing in God, does not mean that you're not going to go through anything. In fact, you're probably going to go through more things, because when things are too simple, you don't put in effort. You don't put in effort, then you slowly stop doing whatever it is you're doing. You slack out. It could work at work. You start getting bored at work. You start hating your job. You stop doing what you're supposed to do, and then one thing leads to another. Next thing you know, you're way over here. So God will test you. God will test you. He'll allow things to happen, to keep you on your toes. All the teachings are, for the most part, it's pretty much about being a better person for yourself, being a better person for other people. Like, what is there negative about that? There's nothing negative about that. I think it's just people.
I think what it is, it's people. It's the flesh of you, because you got me thinking about, there's different religions. I was born and I was baptized Catholic, although I never went to church and I was never raised in the church. I never knew anything. And then once I, got into recovery and, I went to church, Christianity, I'm learning about church through, the Christian way. And I was questioning, well, what's the difference between Catholic and Christians? And I do remember like my distant aunts and whatnot. I just remember it's like, if you do wrong, you're going to hell. It was just, and I think that's where the negative part comes involved, because, we're all about me, we're about the worldly, before I was saved, it was all about what I wanted. And if I didn't agree with it, then I'm not gonna go that way. But, I don't know, just to put my 2 cents in, the difference between Catholic and Christian. Like, Christian, it's like you have a forgiving God. I think Catholics are based off of the Old Testament and not the New Testament. There was a lot has changed once Jesus was risen from the dead, and Christians go off of that. There's, you have the Spirit of Jesus Christ to go with you. You're forgiven, as long as you confess your sins, to Jesus and to God. Versus like Catholics, it's like once you do wrong, then you're going to hell unless you confess your sins to a priest.
Okay, so God gives us these guidelines for a reason to go through everything, right? It's not about anger. Like, so many people come at it with anger, though. Like, you have to do this or blah, blah, blah. Like, it's not like that at all.
And that's how I viewed it. That's how I saw, any religion.
No, and that's again, but that's because of people. People are always going to be people. They're always going to mess up. We're cops. You got people killing people. You got, but then you have the good ones. Like, can you imagine society without cops? Like, people would just be doing whatever they wanted to. There's always going to be, as long as a person's in charge of something, there's always going to be someone bad. You can't judge everything off of what one person does, with 2 people, 100, whatever. That's how racism is here. People trying to judge a black person hurt me when I was blah blah blah. It's now I hate all black people. A dog bit me when I was little, so it was a pit bull. So now those dogs are like the worst things in the world. They're not. They're the most loving dogs ever. It's people tend to, something bad happens and then it's forever that. That's not the way it is. It doesn't matter. So God gives us these guidelines, right? Just because you don't follow these guidelines does not mean that I'm going to be I'm not going to treat you any differently or anything else. It just means, I might, hey, we should, if we really care, that's what it should be about. But hey, I'm still going to love on you. I'm just going to hug you. I'm still going to love you. It's not about hate. It's about, like, it's not up to me. What you're doing, that's between you and God. There's no reason why I should be being mean to you because you're not doing what I feel that, what God is saying should be done, And I think that's where things go sour. Like, cause I hear in A and, from other addicts and even some of the people that we've that came out to us, I'm not spiritual, I'm not in God, but what you said really, really, really helps.
Or what I hear a lot is that same thing. I'm not spiritual, I'm not religious, I'm not whatever, but they refer to it as that higher power, when we know that higher power is God, but it's just there's such that connotation that, you don't want to scare them off, so as long as they know it's a higher power, it doesn't matter. Like, they all say that it's that higher power that helps get them through whatever they need to get through, and it's God.
It's God. Yeah. We're literally kids, and He is like the parent, right?
He's our Father.
He's our Father. It's the same sort of thing, when you were a kid, or those of you that have kids, you know what you shouldn't be doing, what they shouldn't be doing. They think that they know what they want and what they're supposed to do. They can see 4 feet ahead. You can see at least 20, and God can see all the way towards the end, right? But so you as a parent, being able to see further than what your kids can do, they can mess up. You're still gonna love them. They're gonna get in trouble likely, or whatever the case is. Hey, or let's not do this anymore. There's a lesson there, but that doesn't mean you're going to be mean to them. Does not mean you're going to be condescending to them or anything that I feel like people think religion is these days. Yeah. Politics. Yeah.
And God is love. That's what I had to learn. God is love, and what I've also learned is He's a jealous God. What I mean by that, He just wants you to love on Him. If you're over here worshiping idols and I'm over here worshiping the moon and doing the candles and this and that, he gets jealous. He's like, what about me? You should pray to me. You need to worship me. And that's just like a parent. You want your kid to love on you. Like, you get offended if your kid calls somebody else mom or dad who hasn't raised them. God created us and God is raising us. And so and that's all it is. He just wants to love us, and He wants us to love on everyone else. So that's what we mean by, if you don't know love, then you don't know God, because God is love.
Yeah. And it's like the most, if you're looking for recovery, if you're looking to fix something, if you're looking to be forgiven, get rid of that weight, it's, oh my gosh, it's like the warmest. Again, I am not somebody from the past 4 or 10, however many longer years, since I moved out and started doing things my own way. Anybody that that knows me, they wouldn't believe me here to be here at all. This does not make any sense. So when I'm saying I understand what some of you guys have gone through, seen, thought, I've been there. Like, I would have never thought that I'd be coming back and sitting up here with someone that was, an addict, talking about God and trying to help people. Like, but it's such just like that burden, like that weight just gone. Like, you don't know it because you're used to walking it with this weight on you your whole entire life, and you just shake it off. Like, not shake it off, is imagine just hundreds of pounds just dropping off of you, this warmth, it's crazy, it just comes in and just takes it from you.
In the beginning of recovery, that's, what you learn to do is, you can test it out, like just give it a try, see if it works. And that's how we, find God. That's what we had to do to where we're so used to doing everything ourselves because that's what we want. It's all me. And then when you learn to give it to God, to give it up, and you try that, whatever you're going through, whether it's, in the beginning of my addiction, in my recovery, me trying to not want, to use, all the other times that I tried quitting, it didn't matter, that taste was still in my mouth, but then when I learned about God and giving it to God, He took that taste out of my mouth. I no longer yearned for the desire to use meth or to use any of the drugs that I would use. Because I gave it to Him and I relied on Him. And that's all He wants. He just wants us to depend on Him. And it's that easy. It's just that easy to just, know that God is there all the time. You don't see Him, but if you trust in Him and if you just know He's that voice in your head. He's the one that no matter what you're going through, if you don't know what to decide on, or you don't think you can make it through whatever you're going through, you just talk to Him in your head. Even if you don't know how to pray, you just have a conversation in your head to Him, and it's amazing, how powerful He is.
And it's a relationship. Like, it's just like any other relationship you ever had. Not necessarily this sort of relationship, like with your parent, with a friend or whatever. You don't have to have. So I get caught up on, even when like they ask me to pray in like church and stuff, it's like, I pray differently. It's not about that. It's about your connection with God. I don't know of any relationship that you've ever had, but a relationship requires a communication, a line of communication, a trusting, you can't sit up here and expect things and you're not talking to them. You're not, you're just doing things your own way. Like that's a relationship that's built to fail, right? Like if I were to just go out and have fun and then come home and then be like, oh, hey babe, snuggling up, you're not going to be happy.
It's not a one-way street.
Yeah.
It's two ways.
Two ways.
So you can't expect all of God's love and Him to clear out the paths for you and make everything easy and everything fall into place just because it's the relationship. You have to talk to Him. You have to love on Him. You have to appreciate Him. Just like you said, if He comes home from a night out and expects me to be all lovey-dovey with Him, it's like, no, you're not giving me attention, so why should I give you attention? And I need a lot of attention. But it's a relationship, and it's a two-way relationship, and the closer you get to God, the better the relationship, and that's how it should be with anyone in general, but the number one, you always put God first. You put God first, and then everything else will fall into place.
Yeah. And it'll give you a guide, like, it's not even necessarily about the attention even, because God still helps people that have never asked for anything. Like even you as a recovery or whatever, a lot of people will, oh, God help me. Like I hear it all the time. They don't necessarily mean God, but they're asking for help or giving it to higher power. That's something that I hear, we're higher power or you're God. It's still God and He still helps you even though you don't believe in Him, so it's not even just that. That's what true love is though, that's, so if He can love you during that, imagine what it would feel like if you actually gave your all to Him, and everything else. Like it's so much deeper than that. And then also in a relationship, how are you going to understand what's going on with the other side if you're not communicating? Like, so like I was saying about me giving money to church and this guy, what is he talking about and all this stuff. I never put any effort into learning anything, so how am I gonna have an opinion on something and I don't know? I'm going off what other people are saying. You need to learn for yourself. You need to stop, read the Bible, talk to like people that are in it to understand. You can sit up here, if you sit up here and talk to somebody else not about it, it of course it's going to be negative. And then there's people that are in it though that also can be that negative, because they're painting a wrong picture. If they're talking about going out and partying and drinking and having sex and stuff on Saturday, then they want to go to church on Sunday, just for Sunday, then Monday back to going bed. They're not, you're not true. Yeah, you're not true to it.
You're doing it out of habit. And that's what I learned too.
Yeah.
Going to church is just not out of habit because that's what you were raised to do or that's what you were told to do.
Right.
Like if I'm having my kids go to church, it's not just because that's what we have to do. It's like I want them to be informed. I want them to be educated. I want them to learn stuff. And that's a big part of it too. Don't just go to church just to show up. You gotta do the work.
Yeah, there's always going to be some sort of work in anything that's worth it. And then when negative things happen, you can't fall back. You can't sit up here and say why, blah, 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 and get all angry. So when negative things happen, you wait so that you can stay on that path. Like you get comfortable in something, anything, you're gonna slack off on it. So like today even, there was someone in our church that was talking, and she was saying how her son went to prison, right? So he goes to prison for 15 years. So I can only imagine being a mom and my kid going to prison, let alone being in prison. That's got to be scary. The worst thing possible. You think, God, why'd you do this to me? Likely because you did something to get there. But even still, in these negatives with you doing drugs, she did drugs. She now look at her. That we're helping you because it was a necessary thing that had to happen. So 15 years later, now he's out, he's telling these stories about how he learned so much in jail. He got away from these things that caused him to go to jail in the first place, that could have potentially killed him, but he didn't die. So you go into prison, you learn something, you get taken completely out of the situation that you're in, and you come out a better person. Now she was saying how he's such a good person now. He has a family and all this stuff that she never would have thought, So it's bad things happen, but you have to choose to learn from them. You can't assume that just because something negative happens does not mean that it's bad. It's bad in that moment, but in the bigger picture, that's what to me God is about, being the bigger picture. The bigger picture, there's something to learn and to grow from it ultimately.
And also, the devil is real. Like when we were talking about this topic today, the first thing that came to my head was like just how the devil is real. Like, yeah, there's God, but there's also the devil. And, all those bad choices that you make, or all those, the horrible things that life throws at you, it's because the devil is still out there. The devil is stirring stuff up. I just because the way I was raised and my negative thinking and just my self-esteem, my lack of self-esteem. I was telling Jamal today, I'm like, it was as if like the devil was just sitting on my shoulder the whole time. But I didn't, if you're weak, which I was, I'm listening to the devil this whole time. And that's why my path went down the path that it did. Granted, God's more powerful than the devil anyway. So I found my way back to God. But yeah, you just, negative's out there, the devil's out there, but so is God. And God is love, again,
And honestly, the better you're doing, why would the devil need to mess with people that are already down? Sometimes he'll kick you when you're down. It's not God, that's, it's the devil kicking you when you're down, per se, but he generally will attack these people that are doing so good. Like, if I already have my hand on you, what more do I need to do? You're already struggling as is. You're not happy. You're doing drugs. You're addicted to something. I already have my hands on you. So let me go after these people that are doing great. So just because you're doing good, things are still going to happen to you. sometimes God will allow it to happen. So there can be a lesson. Something good will come out in the end. And again, though, big picture, like we're talking the speck in all of eternity. Like life right now is just because this is as we know it. But afterwards, we get to go and spend eternity with heaven, or it could be burning, or whatever the case, depending on what happens. This is just so small in comparison to the bigger picture. So he gives us guidelines, like I was saying. So this is just for instance, like all of these guidelines, not saying that you have to do it this way, because we're all going to mess up. It's about what you do after it. Give you these guidelines. It's like we're talking like with her son about dating, for instance. It's like, well, why do you date? What's the point of dating? Dating is to get married. So if you're in high school, junior high, whatever, why date? Like, what's the point? That's only gonna make you tempted. So then here, so let's look at the big picture. You date, you end up getting tempted, you have a kid, and then maybe another kid, and now here we are 20, 30 years later, you're giving your money away, and you're having to pay child support, and you're stuck with this other person that you don't want to ever have to deal with anymore for 18 years. All because you wanted to date. Like, it's like big picture. We get too caught up in the small, little things, in our feelings. Yeah. And that's a topic for another time that we're gonna have to tap in.
Again, that was, I had to change the way my mind was. That was a good light bulb. Light bulb that went off in my head.
Yeah. It's just stuff like that. Like, these guidelines are here to help us. You don't have to follow them. It's better to. And when you do,
it's for your own good, though. Love thy neighbor. And like you get in a relationship to be married and have a family and to procreate. Yeah. Like nothing in his rules is bad for you. It's to protect us.
Yeah. Just like any parent would, But we're choosing, because we have free will, we're choosing to potentially sit up here and do negative, that momentary small picture feeling better about something, which doesn't necessarily make you feel better. It just, you think it makes you feel better, but then you end up going to jail, or all this other stuff happens after. Like, we get too caught up in the small picture, and I think
in our emotions. We just get in our emotions. We don't stop and think. We just react. I did that all the time. I just reacted. Didn't matter what it was. I just reacted.
Reaction. You gotta start thinking ahead.
Yeah. Now, what I do when I'm in a situation, we get into so many arguments. Because we're still learning. I'm still changing.
Both of us.
Yeah. But a major thing that I've done is just, okay, instead of responding or reacting to my emotions and how I'm feeling at that time, I have to literally stop, go into another room, and I pray. Like, I pray about it. I pray for my patience. I pray for my understanding. I pray for his patience. I pray, God, you got to help him too. It's not just about me. The bottom line is, I just give it to God, and you just got to pray for that patience, because the flesh of me shouldn't be responding. It's the spiritual part of me. God, what am I supposed to do? And if you go to God, and he'll guide you in how to respond and how to reply and what needs to be done. So he's a loving God.
It's all about love. God. It's about being loved on and loving other people. That's what we should be. That's what God is to me. Mm-hmm. And as I know him now, I wish this would have been explained to me when I was younger this way. When I was younger, as some of you I'm sure have experienced it. It's about being told what to do. Again, it's me, fighting back, against what people are telling me and telling me to do. But still, I don't know if I've ever had, but it's not like my parents' fault, because, they were just getting into it and getting into God. Well, my mom was in church, flip-flop with my dad. But my dad was going through a lot of stuff when I was, he was just getting into church and figuring out himself as well, because he was never, he was the same sort of thing as me, but to really knowing God, that's the difference. Really knowing there's like a middle ground, but where we're at versus where he was at, to me, when I was then, it was just I'm getting told what to do. I don't want to do it that way, me. But it was never.
That's why a lot of people are pushed away because we don't like being told what to do. It's the flesh in us. It's the human in us. You know? We're just so far, or the world is just so far off track.
Yeah, and there's some good things, lines become gray, then they become, you know, like, yeah, we'll have to talk about, that's also another, there's so many things.
Everything is another story,
Ooh, we sit up here and talk to you guys for like an hour, but we'll keep them short. But yeah, ultimately, long story short, that's what God is to me. It's love. If you think anything different, erase it, because that's not what it is.
Give it a try.
Yeah, you need to look for yourself also, because
he will amaze you.
Yeah, you really will. Both of us, that's two people that would have never. It's crazy. So this feeling, you know, what I'm hearing again, recovery is people thinking that they have to do it on their own, right? You think that it's just about you're sitting in this room, no one else is around. God is everywhere. Like, it's never just you. You go to recovery because there's a bunch of other people that have experienced the same thing that you've experienced, which is amazing. But imagine if you can have that all the time, how much easier recovery could be potentially. You know, someone that you can always talk to, that's always there for you. You know, you're not alone. You're not alone.
God is literally always there with you, anytime.
Anytime. But let us know in the comments, actually, how do you feel about this? If we've changed your mind, what sort of experiences you've had. I mean, I'm not a pastor or anything, but we're going through this just like you potentially are. You know, we're maybe a couple steps ahead in the sense of a timeline, but we're all learning. If you think that you know everything, you need to rethink that, because you don't. There's always something to learn. I used to think I knew everything, but leave a comment. Let us know what you've gone through, what you feel about any of this. To have a discussion. It's not about bickering. It's just about to have a discussion and to figure things out together. So leave a comment below. Let's have a discussion. Let's make it real. You know, let's learn. And if anything, just remember to keep coming back.
Stay clean. Bye. This on the inside. Yours is on the inside.
No one called you. Like, where did you just come from? As though we called you.
New York.
We called you. Why is mine so loud? Unique New York. It's Graham. He's gonna get up again.
He's like, I'm ready for the camera.
Go. Aww. What fun. Yeah.
What are your notes?
I don't have any. My notes are just going with the flow, baby. Just going with the flow. Go off the top of my head. Worth it. And Raz.